Hey, welcome back. Now I hope you enjoyed Sunday's video. That was really the bulk of your major service, the 12,000 miler. Now that's the engine done and dusted. Now we're just going to do some stuff with the brakes and cycle parts and pivots and stuff, which will form the peripheral makeup of the rest of your service, okay? Stick around, stay tuned, see what happens. Okay, so the first thing that really springs to mind is quite obvious is your brakes. Now, part of your major service, part of any service, is going to be a look-see at your brakes. Now, we've done these videos in the past where we check the brakes out and we clean them with a toothbrush and hot water. You've all watched those. But this is really a little bit more what your service technician will do if you take it in for a service. Alright, first of all, a little clip on the top just releases the hose from the fork leg. And then already backed these out. So caliper bolts out. I've already broken them just a second ago. Make sure they're all clear. Put grease on those and I put them back in and it's already gone. So they're doing periodically. Alright, now give the caliper a little twist and that backs the pads off slightly and there it is. Right, caliper looks a bit skanky as you can see. We're going to have to clean the slide pin there. Take these out, give them a clean. There's a little spring in the back and I want to clean these little sliders in there because they look as if they're a bit dry and the boot's got pushed back out the way. There's nothing wrong with that, it's just got pushed back, it should be pulled back over. So that's all going to be attended to. Let's get, first things first is this little grub screw in there. There's a little screw that lives in there and it covers up. What this is effectively is just a long Allen bolt with a deep head, like a buried head that's buried right down inside, and it's covered with this cap to keep the corrosion off it. The caps themselves are kind of a sacrificial thing. They always come off okay. I've never had one not come out. And if they're a bit stiff, do them when the bike is, when that's connected there still. It gives you a bit of a purchase. But they always come out okay, and there it is. Just a little grub screw. If that ever gets minced or anything, it's got a hole in the centre, you can just drill it out and that just comes out easily then. Nice and easy to do. I've just popped it back on. Gives you a bit of a purchase on it. I'll just get hold of it. It's actually seized up in there a little bit. Again, you wouldn't just do these at 12,000 miles, obviously. You certainly wouldn't just do them at 6 either. This is the sort of thing you should be doing on a periodic basis, really. Drop your pads out, clean them. Now, this isn't going to be the usual trick we do with the soapy water and bucket because we're going to try and do this more like a regular service. That is really stiff. So that definitely needs water attention. There's the pads out now. Right. Comes off easy to take out. Okay. And that's because the pad itself, where all this corrosion is in there, is just sticking, and we'll be able to get rid of that with the time-honoured method. Here we are. That's it. That's a nasty little pin, all corroded and horrid, so we'll clean that in a sec. Drop the pads out. Now there's a little, when we take the pads out, there's a little clip there, so just take a visual of that and make sure you see which way it comes out, because if it drops out and you don't remember which way, it's a bit awkward. Or if you just do one caliper at a time, you'll have the other one to refer to, so we'll take that out. Now all this is what your average technician might do at this point, is just cover up the bench, grab some brake cleaner, don't confuse it and go and use the WD-40, and press those back out of the way first to get into this gum line round here, give it a good clean, and blast it in too much. Take an R toothbrush, just work a little bit, agitate that, get some of it out. If you do this periodically, it won't need that much doing. It's something you should do more often than just at your service. But as it's part of it, here it is. There we are. Pour that brake cleaner out of there. Nice big cloth, dry them all out. You dry them with an airline if you like, works just as well if you've got one. And there we are. Right, the next thing is these little slides. Now, this caliper is a sliding caliper. What happens is this little bracket here moves in and out like that, and that allows the caliper like that in and out. and that allows the caliper to centre exactly over the disc, so you get instantaneous braking. But what happens, these little slides, this little boot pushes back, push it right in, and that little boot gets caught back there because it's not very well lubricated. So we're going to bring them out a bit, and that deliberately pops the boots off. Don't have to take them right out. What I do is pull them right back. That is nicely moving with 2 fingers. There's no real issue. If that's all corroded, take them off, clean the pins and so on. But what I'm going to do with these is bring them out to a point where, as far as they need to be, then just pop a little bit of soft copper slip on there. Use copper grease or anti-seize. Don't go using regular grease. Reason for that is brakes get hot. When they get hot, regular grease melts, and once it melts, it flows, and then you've got an oily substance flowing in around the brakes, which is never clever. Whereas this stuff, where you put it is where it stays. Heat will not melt it. You just pop it around those like that. Then work them in and out, and that will find its own. Oh, that's lovely. Look at that. It's 1 finger now. Beautiful. They instantly react to it. You can see the little boots there are popping back over the recess that they live in on both of them. That's nice. So just wipe off the excess. Don't need any extra there. Got that. And that's fine. Okay, that's ready to go back on as it is. That's fine. Next thing is this pin. I think you've seen this trick before. Come on round, let me grab them pin. Put those on for us because we're going to spin this up. Put some eye protection on. And I use an old Scotch-Brite. Just pop the brake pin in your drill. Not too tight, you don't want to damage the thread. Spin it up and you can clean it with a Scotch pad. Alright, that's it. That's as good as you're going to get it without sticking it in a lathe and turning it up. You can feel along there are some little ridges. So what I will do is at the next time I replace these pads are absolutely fine. They've got probably half their life left. They're absolutely brilliant. Also in the winter these are going to get skanked up in no time with all the road crud. They're not too bad at all. As long as there's a V there, a visual notch that you can see, then they are plenty. When that notch disappears, they are totally out, but they've got plenty left. I'm not going to replace them. And when I do replace these, I'll get some new pins because they're a little bit pitted there, and that will rust up again. But for now, that is as clean as they need to be. Right, let's rebuild the lot. Little spring there, that will just go straight back in. Clips over that surface there. Okay, the pads notch in at the back. So they're identical, so they go both sides, either side. That's it. Nice clean pin. Put that in dry. You don't need anything on it. You really don't. Doesn't need any grease or copper slip or anything, because anything you put on it is just going to attract dust and will just make it stick. It just needs to be clean and dry. What you do need, obviously, there's a little bit of copper slip on there. You can use the hard to the soapy stuff, or this regular cream. Doesn't make any difference. It's all the same stuff. Pop that in and it will come out a lot easier next time. Wind all the way until it stops. It will just meet a stop. That's it. Doesn't need to be tight. That's in nicely. And your pads will slide up and down that. They slide across that a lot easier than they would have done with all that skanky stuff in there. Obviously we've done loads of videos on cleaning brakes, loads, and in the past you've come back to us in your droves and said how they've helped. This is just a way your service guy would do it on the servicing schedule. Hold that there. A little bit of copper slip on the bolts. That's it, same as the next one. Not a great deal. And that's it. Now these are torqued up. We'll do them up by hand first, and then pop the grub screw in. It's a bit easier to feed it in, get it beveled. Don't forget this, because the water and the crap gets in there and it will seize that pad, that little pin in there forever. Nice, done up, that's it. Now torque these up. We've said this loads of times. Torque set on the front is, tell them, Ben?
40 Nm.
40 newtons or 28 foot-pounds. That's it. Sometimes feels like you're doing them up a bit tight, but got to be better than falling out of it. That's it. Okay, so that is it. Now honestly, if you're looking at the work of a technician in a workshop, busy, on an hourly rate, on your clock if you wish, paying your bill on an hourly basis, you're not going to want them to spend 3 hours cleaning your brakes with the finest detail. You just want them to clean them out, grease everything up, make sure they're working. Simple as that. And they will advise you on your bill at the end of the job whether you need new pads or how long they're going to last. They will look ahead and say, look, 6,000 miles to the next service, I think those pads are going to struggle to get that far, so do you want us to put some new ones in, etc. That's a decision you can make. Right, I've done the other side, that's that one, torque them up. I know I've done this loads of times, a little bit of marker paint, and this is purely belt and braces, bit of old nail varnish, dab the top of the bolt like that, and then you can just see anytime, glance at that straight away, and you can tell if they've moved. Simple, isn't it? Right, let's do the rear.
Okay.
Right, time for the rear now. It's ever so simple with these. You've got 2 pins there that hold the pads in, and they work on a sliding mount just the same. So the 2 pins come out that way. Quite tight. And these pins, all I'm doing is cracking them so I can get them out once the caliper is off, because as you saw, they're quite tight. I've loosened these already. 2 big fat bolts that hold the whole thing on. Take that out of the way. Now just give them a little rotate, that pushes the pad back. I am aware that I need new pads in this. In the back there you can see that inner one is right on its last noggins. There's about 1 millimetre left. So I'm going to get a new set of pads this week and I'll replace these. But for now they will be just okay. And these come out in the same way as the front ones do. You get these 2, just slide that back, that's the little carrier. Then that exposes the 2 pads there. Now this is what your service mechanic will do for the money. They'll take these out, give them a clean, put them back together. They'll advise you if you need new ones. I'm going to clean both of those so they move same as the front, and they literally now just drop out. Hold that one out of the way. That pivots on this pivot on the back, so that's the outermost one, and that's just sits on the front in there, the little spring in the bottom. So you can see that that is practically out. That's value for money. So I'll get some new ones and we'll be replacing those this week, but for now, little spring clip in the bottom, and I want to clean like I did before around the gum line there, get all that crud out of there. Let's just move that forward. That's it. Nice and visible. Okay. Cloth underneath. To one side. And it's around that recess around there that all the muck gets that causes problems. A bit more on there. And then just literally irrigate that out. So it literally pours out. It works well. Push these out a little bit, again, just like the front ones. Lives on a single slide in the centre like that. And a big fat slide on the back. And all I'm going to do is push them out. Bear in mind that's not going to have any more than that in it, so that's as far as you dare go. We'll take the soft copper grease, a little bit on that, and just grease that pin so that it moves in and out, because this is the method by which this caliper moves across the disc in order to centralise, and if that's seized up, it ain't going to centralise. And the bottom one down there, yeah. Mucky old job, but there you go. That's brakes for you. And yes, you should wear gloves, but I have run out. I literally don't have any rubber gloves left in a minute, as I would have worn them for this. There we are. So just work them in and out. And be aware that there's a lot of muck around there, a lot of this spare lubricant in there, and I want to just get rid of that now, because as you can see, it's right adjacent to these pistons there. So I'm just going to take a cloth, just wipe any excess away, because a lot of it gets sucked inside the rubber boot and it lives in there, which is where it needs to be. That's it. That's it, the excess out of the way. That's nice, beautiful, lovely, soft, slippery liquid action. That's what you need. Now this really goes against the grain, it truly does, to put these back in. I'm going to clean these two pins. Just clean these two back in, we'll bung them back together. Right, here we are, two clean pins. Let's bung them back in. Right, this really goes against the grain to put worn out pads back in, but I've got no choice because I've got to go and get some. Physically have to go and buy them, and I'll go and do that tomorrow. So we'll pop that back in and literally just push it in against the spring behind and then locate the pin through it. There we are. Press them in and they'll locate themselves straight away, and the two pins in there, and then that one on that pin at the back, and again press it in against the spring, and there we are. That holds them in. Right, I'll just for the sake of it, I see a thing with these on. That's better. And just spin them in the normal manner. You can tighten them all up in a minute when you've done, when it's back on the bike. There we are. Right, so wiping off the excess. So grease the slider there so that everything slides around nicely and moves. Cleaned and polished the pins, clean around the pads and around the back of the gum line, and I'll put a new set of pads in that tomorrow. Just got to pop them back in for now in order to go and physically get some. There it is. Same goes for the two mount bolts. That's it, there we are. Right, so as far as servicing is concerned, that's it. Your service technician is going to do the engine, which we did on Sunday, and then we do all around the brakes, and all this leaves now is peripheral things, foot pegs, levers, adjustments, sort of thing that you'll do so you get the right socket. That's it, there we go. Sort of thing that you'll do just on a daily basis. Personally, I look after my bike in a way that I don't need to be greasing foot pegs on servicing, because I do them all the time. If I feel that they're a little bit tight, oops, and I just give them a little bit of squirt of WD-40. And it's one of those things. Depends whether you do that on your bike on a basic everyday basis. Basic everyday basis? What's that mean? Right. So what I mean is this sort of thing. Taking a cloth, here you come, pen. You've got pivots everywhere. If you really want to be OCD, you can take that out and you can copper grease it. It will still get sticky because it will still get crud in it from the roads, especially the pillion ones around the back wheel. And sometimes it's a squirt of good old WD is all it needs. Pivots, again, you can take them apart if you want to, and you can put some stuff in them, like some copper slip. That's something you might do on a longer term basis, and that goes for all the levers, adjusting the free play. A little something on your clutch, for instance, there. Just check on this. You've got that free play. Without the cable touching, there is a little bit of free play here. This is the actuator rod that goes down and pushes the clutch in, just to make sure there's a little bit of movement there and it isn't permanently pulled all the time, because that then might hold the clutch plates slightly apart. They'll start rubbing and they'll burn out early. So a little bit of free play on there. If you haven't got it, you've got an adjuster there, all that sort of thing. Right, so that really covers it. All I wanted to do on this video was to show you that apart from your engine service, which we did on Sunday, you've got other things. Your brake calipers, keeping out your brakes. I looked at those pads probably 2-3 weeks ago and they kind of were okay. And there we are today, they are out. That's it. Once they start getting low, they run out real quick. And that's something that I would say you really keep an eye on, purely because it's your safety, especially when you've got a penny pit stop on the back of the bike, on the motorway, 75 mile an hour, or 70, just taking it easy, being safe, that's what it's all about. So if you've got any questions, there are further things. I think I just want to quickly reiterate what I said on Sunday, and that is that things like the valve clearances and the fuel filter inside the tank, and adjusting the stepper motor on your fuel injector on the throttle bodies, or adjusting the balance of the throttle bodies, balancing up the butterflies and so on. All of that kind of thing is what a technician does. They do it all the time, they're used to it. If you're not confident with it, just invest the money. Go and see the dealer and get it done. But you can go to them with confidence and say, everything else is fine. Please don't bother changing the oil, filter, I've changed the plugs, I've done all the brakes, everything else on the peripheral bits and pieces. I've adjusted the chain because I keep my chain adjusted all of the time. I've got a Scott oiler, so it doesn't need to be cleaned or adjusted. And the tyres, I keep an eye on them before every single ride. It's one of those things. So there we are. I hope that helps you. If you've got any questions, stick them in the comments box. I could rattle on for hours, make this a daft 40-minute video like Sundays, but I don't want to. That's brakes. That's how you service them quickly. You can go into it further if you want to, but that'll keep you safe on the road. Anything else, Ben? What's wrong?
That's it. Happy braking.
Happy braking. Take it easy, ride safe. See you next time.